Hey everyone, my name is David Dunbar, or the Theme Park Evangelist. Last vlog for the day. Not going to do any Life as a Working Disney Cast Member series today. Think I'll save that for another day. Going back to working nights again for the rest of the week. I don't know offhand when I'll get back around to YouTubing again. I might start YouTubing in my room again at night, which is completely fine. It honestly depends on whether Andrew is working the next morning or not, because I don't really want to be YouTubing when he has to open the next mornings, if that makes any sense. So, Saturday nights might be my best night for the next month or two, just because of the fact that he is off on Sundays and Mondays. So that might work out to my advantage. I apologize about the bright light on my right side of my face. The sun's shining directly on my right side of my face. So this YouTube video is not going to be terribly as long as my last one. So the last one, I kind of talked about what was going on with me the past few days. And also, I about some details to my trip, and I also talked about a few other things. So it was kind of a rambling on different things. And usually, my very first vlog that I film every single time I do a YouTube video is always the longest and always has the most detail. And by the time I get to my second vlog, I usually have already got all that rambling out of me. So now I can completely focus on what needs to be said. I feel like that's my biggest problem is whenever I haven't done like a YouTube video in a while, like whenever I come to work and I haven't seen my coworkers in a while, I feel like my day is mostly spent catching everybody up. And by the next day, I don't feel as talkative. Like what my first vlog is like catching everybody up, and then the second vlog, okay, I'll cut you all up. So now I don't have as much to tell you guys. So that's my biggest problem right there. But you guys are all caught up. You want to watch all that, you can watch that in the very first vlog, which I will be uploading to YouTube later tonight and editing on top of that. I don't have time right now because my dad's kind of pushing me to come over to his place. So I have to finish up with these YouTube videos all together, filming them, that is. Because I only have so much time to film them, but I have plenty of time to edit them and upload them. Because that's stuff I can do privately later on, wherever, and I'm not going to bed like anytime soon tonight, so I don't mind doing that all tonight. And then, of course, I gotta empty the dishwasher and reload it with some dirty dishes before I leave, so I'll make sure that I get some or get everything I need to get done before I head out. So I have kind of mentioned here and there that I do not want to move back to Central Florida, and I've had this discussion with TJ who knows how many times, but I'm hoping that TJ will watch this YouTube video and maybe he will 100% understand. I don't know if he ever will. TJ has really bad autism. I've mentioned that before. I have autism myself, but TJ's is unfortunately worse. So this is the best way to put me moving away from him. TJ basically lost his right arm when I moved away because I'm his best friend. I'm his closest friend. I'm the only real close friend or real friend he's ever had in his life. And it's really sad. And we didn't really start to get to know each other until early 2017 when I talked to you guys about my how I got to know TJ and K series. Like, there is a series on YouTube that's coming out immediately right after my Life as a Working Disney Cast Member series, and it's going to talk about my friendship of K and TJ over the years, and K is going to go all the way back to 2012, and it's going to tie into TJ. So obviously, I'm going to have to start with K and kind of work my way up to TJ, and then I'm going to tie him in there very easily, and then kind of move forward until the time I moved away. And I'll mention how or why I moved away and what led that to happen. And of course, how I still stayed with close friends with them the entire time, even after I moved away. And I'll even mention, TJ came up here to visit me twice, and Kay has been up here 0 times because Kay doesn't like to leave Polk County ever. And the few times that Kay has left Polk County, she has gone through severe withdrawal. So it just shows that some people just don't like to leave home. Don't mean to throw Kay under the bus, but Kay's easy to tease. But yes, I have stayed pretty good, close friends with them over the years, over the past 9 years, almost 10 years now. And I've met Vanita back in 2012, but she and I didn't really become close friends until 2019, which is really ironic. Like that's when we first started hanging out, but even then, I had already kind of become close friends with her a couple of years prior when I was working with her at Publix, and I have been pretty good friends with my friend Christina at work too. We're talking about Publix again, but I don't know. I There's just some people I've gotten along better with than others. But I mainly want to talk about Kay and TJ because they're the ones I've always hung out with the most. They're the ones that I've literally gone and done things more with than anybody. So that's why the whole YouTube series is going to be about TJ and Kay, not anybody else. So this also will prevent any jealousy or anything. And hopefully this will help you guys understand TJ a little bit more as well. I'm hoping anybody up here in Northern Kentucky that really likes TJ will also really want to watch the series like Alan, my college pastor. I'm sure that he will like to watch this YouTube series. So if you ever see this video, Alan, I would highly recommend watching the series. It should come out in the next few months. I just don't know how quickly I'll get through the Life as a Working Disney Cast Member series. I mean, I'm not trying to rush it because I really want to take my time and let people enjoy it. But I'll first start with why I moved away from Central Florida in the first place. So 2017 was the year that TJ and I, of course, became really close friends, and it was around early 2017 when we started hanging out all the time together. We used to go to Universal all the time. We used to eat out all the time. But as I said, I'll talk more about that in my series. And around August, my parents found out about Ken Ham coming to Tampa, Florida, Lutz, Florida, to be specific, and they invited me to go with them. My brother, I don't remember what happened to him that day. I think he either stayed home or he was working or something. I was off. I think it was one of those weird odd day that I had gotten off from Publix, or it could have been the fact that I was finally getting off on Sundays from Publix, because for many years I was working literally every single Sunday at Publix, and I finally put my foot down. I said, no more of this. I'm done. So they were like, sure, why not? So started getting Sundays off, and my parents drove me all the way out to Lutz. I think we got part of the way down Highway 60, and my parents realized, oops, we forgot to give Jonathan the keys to the car, because I think he was working at Legoland that day. So we drove all the way back just to give Jonathan the car keys, and then we got in the car and drove all the way to Lutz. No, we still got there early, which is good. So we got all the way there. Ken Ham came out, and he lives up here in Northern Kentucky like we do. And to think we were living in Central Florida at the time. So, we drove all the way out there. And Ken Ham came out and he gave one of his apologetics. And it was really, really good. And I always loved Answers in Genesis. I've known about Answers in Genesis since 2005. My middle school science teacher loved Answers in Genesis. He used to teach us the curriculum all the time. He used to teach us about Ken Ham's teach, or he used to teach us Ken Ham's teachings. I knew all about apologetics just from him. We used to watch his apologetics even on VHS. We're going back 16 years ago, though. We used to watch Buddy Davis. My parents, a few years later, started teaching children's church or whatever, the seven C's of creation. And they did that for many years. So it's not a surprise that I would be like, yes, I want to go see Ken Ham. So Ken Ham, eventually went backstage after the whole thing was done. And my parents said, well, we would like to meet Ken Ham. Well, I'm a go-getter. I really like to make things happen. So I said, well, I'll make it happen that you guys can meet him. And they're like, yeah, right. And they're like, can you really? And I'm like, yeah, of course. I'm not afraid to put myself out there. So I talked to the pastors, and they said, well, we'll go talk to him. We'll go ask him. And Ken Ham actually said, yes, I'll meet you guys. And my dad even likes to tell the story even now. He said that I'm the reason why we met Ken Ham. I'm probably even the reason why we're up here in the first place. Which is kind of funny, even though I don't really think that I'm really the complete reason why we even moved up here in the first place. But hey, whatever he says. So, my dad mentioned to Ken Ham that, he and my mom love Answers in Genesis. He told him the same thing I just told you guys for the past few minutes. And this is what really shocked me. He said that he and my mom have been thinking about moving up to northern Kentucky, which I did not know they had been talking about that. And I was like, what? Like, when did you guys start talking about that? I'm like, okay. I'm like, you guys need to start discussing things with me more often. And, after we had the whole discussion with Ken Ham, and Ken Ham was like, all about, yes, you guys need to move up here and come work for me, and all that fun stuff. All the way to the Cracker Barrel, I had like a gazillion questions. I'm like, what in the world have you been keeping from me, and all that fun stuff. And to think earlier that year, I had this whole plan on going up to North Florida and going to Baptist College of Florida. And I was a little indecisive about it at the time because I didn't know if I really wanted to live 6 hours away from my parents. Because, we've always been close. But, I was still pretty sure that this was what I wanted to do. But I really wanted to be closer to my parents. And I also, more than anything, wanted to go work for Answers in Genesis. So I took a huge risk. I had everything set up. I had this whole plan to go to Baptist College of Florida. I was going to, get to know all these Christian people up there. I knew a lot of people that were going there. It's not like I was going to be alone. I was going to stay with Publix. I was going to transfer stores. And I threw it all away just because I want to go work for Answers in Genesis. So I pretty much threw that whole opportunity away. Yeah, I got teased for it, but whatever. So my parents progressively over the next year, which was 2018, started preparing for Operation Move to Northern Kentucky. And I just kept living my life as normal. And come, 2019, we all moved up here. And my parents actually gave me that option before we moved up here, because they came up here in early 2019, and then they came back, and then they went up here again and left us in charge of packing the house. But I remember at one point they said to me, we're going to give you the option. You can either A, come up here with us, or B, you can stay down here in Central Florida. And I really did think about what they said. I was not 100% sure if staying in Central Florida was the greatest idea. The idea of being 1,000 miles basically away from my parents was not a good idea. And at first, I was okay with having my brother go off without me because he would have been under the care of my parents. But me being away from my parents was very difficult for me. And not to mention, I didn't know what was going to happen to them. It was, I basically was seeing my parents take a big leap of faith in going out into the middle of nowhere, basically, only into an area we were familiar with. They were going to have no jobs. And meanwhile, I had a secure job. Was I happy with the store I was at? No, not at all. I'm not going to say why, but I'm going to say that I was very unhappy with the store I was at. And that's as far as I was going. I had just recently quit Disney, and I was a little unhappy with how things had turned out. It wasn't Disney's fault, though. It was a particular manager that worked for Toy Story Land that I wasn't happy with. But it turns out that all the managers at Toy Story Land are bad. So I found that out the hard way. I made the bad decision of working for Toy Story Land, and that's the reason why I think I had a bad experience. I should have, by rights, stayed at Magic Kingdom. But you sometimes have to find out the hard way, what's the right thing to do. And sometimes I do stop and think, I think God wanted me to go to Toy Story Land because he wanted me to be in custodials to prepare me for the coronavirus. And I know sometimes it's hard to think about that because sometimes God has to put us through trials and tribulations to experience the hard things in life. But it's all good. Anyway, so um, I pretty much just ran that through all that through my head, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna take a leap of faith too, and I actually managed to secure myself a job at Kings Island, and it was a legit guaranteed job. I didn't know anything about Meyer at the time. I would have applied there and I would have gotten hired on the spot. But I didn't know about Meyer right away. So I moved up to northern Kentucky and I did the whole hiring process of Kings Island, which is identical, completely identical to Legoland. I'm skimming through everything. I don't want to give you guys full blown details. I got hired at Kings Island. It didn't start right away, but when I did, it was kind of nice and, it was hot. But I got to work there, and then shortly after I got hired at Kings Island, I found out about Meyer from my best friend Josh Southard, and I kind of found out about Meyer because he took me to a Meyer in Dayton, Ohio area, and I really liked the company. And then I found out that there was a Meyer over my house. I shopped there twice before I decided I want to come work in the company. I had already shopped at Meyer 3 times by this point. So I applied for Meyer. I had an interview with the general merchandise manager, basically. His name is Ed, and that's as far as I'm going because I don't want to give out too much personal information again. And I got hired on the spot. My interview was literally an hour and a half. I wish I had met Phil that day, but I didn't. Phil is probably one of the coolest managers I've ever met in my life, and he's super nice and very blessed to have all the managers I do. I wouldn't say that I always love my job, but I'll say this: I love working hard, and I always feel like I've accomplished something every day. I do an 8-hour day over there, and I could say, let me start over. I can pretty much say I got along pretty well with everybody, including the customers. I can't say that not everybody likes me, but even the people that don't seem to like me that all that much seem to even like me just a little bit. I would never say I'm Facebook friends with everybody. And even the people that are Facebook friends with me, there's only a small handful of them that don't completely associate with me on social media. And the majority of them that are Facebook friends with me actually do have a personal connection with me. And we do actually feel like a family there. We really do. And it is a really nice company. I do love the company in general. I really feel like both Publix and Meyer are very similar in a lot of ways. And I really feel like, working for Meyer is a good reason for me to stay up here. But anyway, so that's my other reasons why I do want to stay up here. So now that you guys kind of know about how I got hired, now I can move forward. So my dad stayed unemployed, unfortunately, for 3 months or so. And, it was very challenging. But you know what? I know that God was watching out for him the entire time. And I can't say he didn't try. He really did try. And I know that God was right there for him or with him the entire time. And my mom didn't have the greatest job in the world when she first moved up here either. But you know what? God was right there with her the entire time too. My brother got hired relatively quickly too. I really feel like moving up here was easier on both my brother and I just because, we're young and my parents are unfortunately older. But you know what? I knew that God was going to do something for my parents in the long run. I really did know that. And I know that God never gives up on his children. So when my dad did get hired, um, I was so blessed. In fact, I was so happy. I went to a local ice cream chain that's based in the greater Cincinnati. Well, it's actually really based in Cincinnati. It's called Graders, and it's an old fashioned ice cream place, so to speak. And I bought him a cake and I brought it to him. And I said the reason for this was to celebrate you getting a job. And my dad was so shocked. I was going to throw him a party and everything. We never did, though. But, I really tried proving to my dad that that's how happy I was that he actually got a job because I really feel like he hit rock bottom at one point. And he had talked about moving back to Central Florida. That's how depressed he was getting. Like, I hated to see him get that way. And I knew that God had not forgotten about him or given up on him. And I wanted to keep reminding him that. And I'm really glad that he kept pushing forward. So, very, very blessed for him, that's for sure. Um, Holidays happened, and then right after the holidays, my dad discovered something very bad and serious, which I'm not going to say out loud because it's very personal. So he had discovered this while we were at church, and he asked, do you know any doctors? And the church to the music pastor, worship leader said no. And I convinced my dad, why don't you go get it checked out? And my dad did, and discovered it was a lot more serious than he thought. So he was able to work as long as he possibly could. He wasn't doing the greatest job even when he did get hired, which was by Answers in Genesis right away, which is what he wanted to do. He wasn't 100% happy, but he was at least, working for the company, and at least he was making somewhat decent hours. Sure, it wasn't always the greatest, but hey, I'm just happy that he was at least getting something. And then, of course, eventually he had to be taken out of work because he ended up being stuck in the hospital for a couple of weeks. I'm not saying why, but I'll just say this right now. He had to get a major surgery done. And once again, I feel like he hit rock bottom, but I didn't give up on him, and I know God, most importantly, did not. And I've never seen the church and Answers in Genesis come to our aid as much as I did. I was like, wow, like, Answers in Genesis provided a lot of meals for us. The church literally had almost every single person from the church come right to him the entire time he was in surgery and while he was recovering. I shouldn't say during surgery, but during his recovery, all three pastors were right there during his entire recovery. And my dad still likes to complain that, he hears a lot of bragging from the church about various things. I'm not saying what, but I can understand why he's upset, but at the same time, I always stop and think about the fact that, what happened, or remember, I should say, do you remember when you were in surgery and when you were recovering, remember how much Answers in Genesis and Hebron Baptist Church were right there for you that entire time, and yet um, you always want to focus on the negative aspect. It's like, it just discourages me, and I don't know what to say otherwise. I think sometimes when you are used to a certain thing, like, and that's what I was saying to Alan last night. I think my dad was used to a certain thing all the time down in Central Florida. He was used to having people over all the time, and now that he's up here, or he doesn't really know people as well, and now that he doesn't have that big of a house, it's all gone and he misses it. And now I'm getting all that because we have a pretty big house and I'm living with the popular people. So we have people in and out all the time. And I'm not always happy about it because I'm like, I don't know if I really want to hang out with people. I feel like my dad would be better off of that. And of course, every time we had people over at the last house, which was in Ellesmere, um, it was always my brother's friends. It was never his, and it was never mine. It was always my brother's. And it's the same way now. That's kind of why I'm just like, it's like whatever. But I feel like just everything that has been going on with my parents was the pretty much the primary drive for me to stay up here the entire time. And I feel like if I had stayed in Central Florida, I would have ended up moving up here anyway, because there was no way I was going to stay down in Central Florida while my parents suffered up here. Like, yes, did God come through in the end? Yes. My dad got a job. Then he got transferred into a better department. He started getting full-time hours. My mom ended up leaving her old job, and she actually got a job she wanted. She started getting full-time hours. My brother, still not completely happy, but give God time, and God will pull through. I feel like I need to keep waiting a little longer. I've been with Meyer for almost 2 years now. Eventually, God's going to come and eventually pull me out of my job and put me in Answers in Genesis. I feel like all my patience is going to pay off. And I just keep telling myself that even when it seems hard, I know God's going to come through eventually. I just got to keep waiting. Because God says yes, God says no, God says maybe, and God says not right now. And that's all you can do. And all you can do is just keep doing what you're doing, glorify God, do your absolute best, and let your light shine before everybody. But you know what I have right now that I didn't have back before October of last year? I have the job at the church now. And I feel like that has helped me out a lot. And God is coming through. God is like, you know what? I haven't forgotten about you. I am right there. Look, I gave you the job at the church. I gave you something to help you out a little bit, to show you that I haven't forgotten about you. Eventually, I will give you the job at Answers in Genesis. You just got to keep waiting a little longer, and that's it. I'm kind of glad I'm almost done YouTube because my legs are getting cramped up. I've been cramped like this for over an hour now, so I'm going to end it at the 30-minute mark, which you guys should be able to see at the bottom of your screen if you drag your cursor down or whatever. If you tap your finger down at the bottom and you see, oh, look, I'm almost at the 30-minute mark of my YouTube video, so yes, I will see you guys in the next vlog. I know when I come back again, I will definitely do a Life as a Working Disney Cast Member series. Hopefully, these YouTube videos will explain, or well, I should say this YouTube video, my bad, will explain better why I have stayed up here in Northern Kentucky. Just the whole fact that I just want to be here for my parents and my brother. Of course, the whole awkwardness of what happened at Disney and Publix has kept me up here. Yeah, I kind of ran away from my problems, but you know what? I also feel like God is eventually going to bring me to Answers in Genesis, and of course, God has allowed me to work for Hebron Baptist Church as a janitor. And I may not always like my job at Meyer, but You know what? I, for the most part, do love what I do. But I will see you guys in the next vlog. And always remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Have a great day. Peace out.